Year's Eve and it is nearly 2026. And that means I need to tell you my top 10 reads of 2025. This was very challenging and it hurt me. So I hope you enjoy the fruits of my labor. Just to clarify, this is only going to be books that I read in 2025, not necessarily published in 2025. And I guess a little rundown of what is good for me. I love when something is just purely entertaining and I'm just having so much fun. Like the enjoyment side is massive for me. But more and more I was finding this year, I also need my brain to be stimulated. I need an interesting world. I need some interesting concepts. I need development. I can't just be thrown into a world that doesn't make sense or with characters that are just really one note and shallow. I really want that depth. I want it. I fear to say I might be maturing as a reader. So this is pretty much fantasy and romance exclusive, but let's kick it off with my number 10 pick. I have The Rogue Crown by A.K. Mulford. This is book 3 in the Crowns of Ocrith series, and this one follows like a bodyguard and a princess falling in love, and I just had the greatest time. I'm really enjoying the world that she's creating here. It has been a little while since I've read this one. I've still got the next 2 books in the series to go, but just like the banter, the flirting, just like the kingdom politics, just all of it. I'm gonna have to go and reread this whole series. I really am. And I did annotate this one. I didn't put flags, but I just kind of wrote in the margins and underlined. And someone's saying that they've read every book in their town twice. And what's relatable. Or like someone snuck out to get bread. And I'm like, after my own heart. But yeah, you can see. There's pages I've just like underlined so much. When you're a princess, your value is in how you make other people look. How good you can be, how untroubled. You aren't viewed as a person in your own right. That's how people see me. Only as an extension of someone else's glory. I'm like, I promise if you die first, I'll remember all of you. Not just the good bits. I'm like, oh! Dude, might need to reread the first 3 books before I continue the series. Because I'm like, it's so good and there's so much I don't remember. But I'm really enjoying this series. I also had the privilege to meet A.K. Mulford at the Ball Gowns and Books event at Babe. And I believe she signed this one. Yep, and it's got my name on it. To Tiana. Blah. Great author, but also lovely person. And I'm so excited to read more of her work. Number 9! Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. So I read... Oh, was it this year? I think it was like 2024. I was in a book club where we read every book in this series and we were actually waiting for this finale to come out, and it was just gorgeous. So this is an interconnected sports romance series where we kind of follow people in their friendship group, and this is we finally get Rio's story in this one, who is like the lovable kind of charming guy that just has been a bit unlucky in love, and it was just a really beautiful story. So it's like a second chance with his first love when he was really young. Liz Tomford writes a really well-balanced romance book. So we get a lot of banter, we get a lot of character development. These characters have trauma, they have things that make them tick, they have complicated relationships with family. Like, it's all going on. Oh, I'm just remembering, like, you've got the Italian mum in here, and she's just absolutely beautiful. When we finally get, just these two finally getting together, and we have a kind of recurring theme of like a mix CD or a mixtape for every year, and I kind of keep that going, and it's just really cute. And then, as I'm talking, I'm remembering things that I'm like, I can't give too much away, but this whole series is really beautiful, and she really nailed it with this one. So please check out the Windy City series. The first one's my high. At number 8, we have The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This is a big, chunky, epic fantasy. So unlike me. I remember hearing Peruse Project on YouTube talking about this years ago, and I've collected them all secondhand in this like large trade paperback. Light benders, for lack of a better term, so people are able to manipulate different colors of light to do things, but each color kind of has different properties and can only do certain things. But we have like our I'm calling him the Rainbow King. He's called the Prism. Half cult leader, half emperor of this land, but he's like the only one who can bend all the colors. And so there's councils and there's like all these like real world applications of how we're using your magic. But what I really like about this one is that magic has consequences. So the faster you use your magic, the faster you die. It's not going to be immediate, but you do kind of like lose your health and like age faster, decay faster, the more you use your magic. And then we also have people in this book who they've either used their magic too fast or they've kind of used a darker magic and they kind of go a bit like cuckoo, cuckoo, crazy, like just killing people. I think they're called like whites, but W-I-G-H-T, not just whites, you know. Yeah, we also follow an orphan who is revealed to be the bastard son of the Rainbow King. And I can't tell you too much, but just the world building, the magic, the politics, the twists and turns, and the way this ended, I really want to continue reading this series. I've heard this series might not be consistently good all the way through, but I am going to stick out for as long as I can because this is a really cool world and I can't wait to see what he does with this. But being that this is like a series of 6 books that are this long, we'll just see. I got plans. At number 7, we have the highly anticipated Empire of the Dawn by Jay Kristoff. This is yet again another big chunky epic fantasy. What? Crazy. So this is the finale to Empire of the Vampire. And this series is so cool, you guys. This is like a grimdark gothic vampire world where it is always nighttime, so vampires rule supreme. But then we also have this guild of half vampires, like vampire demigods, who are vampire hunters, but they're half vampire themselves. And they go to like an academy and just, yeah, we're trying to save the world and there's a lot going on. So yeah, and it's very funny. It's very irreverent. It's very raunchy. It's very dark. So I spent a really long time finishing this book, partly because I'm just always have competing books in my queue that I'm currently reading, which I'm working on. But also I was really terrified of what this book was going to make me feel because being grimdark and being Jay Kristoff, he doesn't really pull punches. Main characters can die at any point. So, yeah. Unfortunately, this didn't like gut punch me as hard as I wanted it to. There were a few twists in the book that I was like flabbergasted at. I remember I was reading this at the pool with my friend Beth, who hasn't read this one yet. And I was tearing up and trying to like process what I had just read. And I was like, what? But yeah, overall, like just, we keep expanding the world. We keep kind of having new perspectives. A lot of my questions were answered because the end of book 2 is a big what the fuck cliffhanger. So it takes a while to get your answers, but you do get there eventually. My main critique for this one was that the resolution felt really rushed, but overall, I still had a really good time with this. And this series as a whole is like one of my favorites. So yeah. At number 6, we have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, which I annotated to high hell, which is another chunky fantasy. Not quite as chunky as the last 2, but I really enjoyed this. The last section of this book, I stayed up way too late reading, which I'm not, like, it's not a common thing for me because I fall asleep. I, like, physically can't. But it also got to the point where I was like, I need to like finish this. I need to know. So the reason this isn't higher is because like it's not a fun time necessarily, but it's like a thought-provoking wow time. So if you haven't heard the premise for this one, it follows, oh my god, Alice? Yes. It follows Alice and she journeys to the underworld to get her dead professor to help like sign off on her dissertation. So magic is a known thing in this world. And for her career, she's like, I would have to start over again, or like, it'd be real hard for me to just continue on. I'm going to bring him back from hell. I'm going to have a great career. It's great. So she's already a bit delulu. So I will acknowledge, like, she is delulu through a lot of this book, but you kind of find out more about her backstory and why she is the way she is. And a lot of her kind of like knee-jerk controversial opinions is like her projecting her trauma. So just be patient with our girl, because there's just a lot. And then there is a bit of like a romance in here, which it's more so than any of her other series, I want to say. But I really like the way it was done, because we kind of had funny moments, but we also had a lot of just character solo moments. And just hell in this book was so fascinating, because we have the courts of hell, but then it's really not expected. I get the sense that hell is kind of tailored to the individual, like of how you perceive it. So it is a lot of like, it's a very academic setting in part of it. So for example, I really enjoyed like just the commentary on higher education. I thought was done so well, because it really is like there's so much arrogance and so much privilege and so much like financial like politics about who gets to have knowledge. And so in the Court of Pride, we're following people who are trying to write an essay, and then they just kind of have to shove it in a like slot and hope that it's good enough. But a lot of them are too proud to actually work on it or like to actually do anything. Yeah, just it was really, really interesting, and I really loved how it wrapped up. I did cry reading this one, and I'm gonna read everything this woman publishes ever. Book number 5 is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I did debate putting this lower just because it's not quite as epic as some of the other books, but Tessa Bailey is my favorite romance author, and I'm still catching up. I've like been hoarding all her books like a dragon, and I finally got around to reading some more of her stuff this year. But I was just having so much fun. I was giggling. I was loving the setups, the banter. I really enjoyed learning more about our character, our FMCs. She's got like diabetes, so kind of learning more about that, and like he's kind of learning so much about her health to be able to support her, and her kind of gaining some independence, and just it was really beautiful. Again, like Tessa writes a really balanced book that we have cute, we have banter, we have sexy, but we also just have really just deep, heartwarming, beautiful character and like relationship connection moments. So Tessa, you knocked it out of the park. I cannot wait to read the rest of the series. Okay, we're getting close. All right, at number 4, I have Woven by Gold by Elizabeth Helen. So I binged this whole series this year. It's still ongoing, but the 4 books that are out, they are downloaded down here. So this is book number 2. It was hard to choose which one, but particularly I remember like the first section of this book was just like so satisfying and so funny, and also our Autumn Prince is just to die for. He is all the cozy, cute vibes cinnamon roll that you'd want. This is the Beasts of the Briar series. The first one is Bonded by Thorns. This is the indie cover. These are the kind of new covers. They're getting Trad published, even though I thought they already had. But anyway, this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which like original, right? But this one is really fun the way it's done. We follow our girl Rosalina, and she stumbles into like a magic world where there are 4 Fae princes, and she may just be fated mates with one of them or more of them, who knows. And so there's a lot of magic, there's a lot of world, there's a lot of sexy, there's a lot of banter, there's a lot of heart in this series. It is just like exactly what I wanted. And I'm having so much fun with this series, and I cannot wait for the next one, Frozen by Stardust. I was also very lucky to get to meet Elizabeth Helen at Babe as well, so they signed my books. The whole series, man. Over with it for Welcome to the Enchanted Vale. Thank you. I think I'll stay. But yeah, for our Why Choose Fantasy Romance, that's top tier for me. Like, that's a really good, well-rounded series with good development, just good everything. Just read it. Top 3, here we go. All right, next I have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I binged this series this year. I only own the first one. I got the other 2 from the library, but I might even say book 2, The Last Graduate, is my favorite in the series, which is rare. Which, yeah, same. Woven by Gold is book 2. To avoid the second book slump, I put thank you. And the reason this one is so high is because of how unique the concept and the execution of this series is. I had the best time. I was really cautious going into this because I have read Uprooted previously and it just did not deliver for me. It just felt very like loose and strange and didn't like come through in the end for me. But this series, whole baby. I like to describe this series as if it's a magic school where the whole school is the room of requirement, but also it's out to get you. It's a room of requirement and it's Monster House in one. That's what it is. So we follow our main character, Elle, which is short for Galadriel. She's got a hippie witch mum. And she is doing her darndest to just survive this school. So there's monsters trying to kill you all the time. And it's to the point where, like, you don't even want to, like, go shower or, like, walk by yourself because, like, monsters just they're going to get you. And, like, the more you're expecting it, the more likely it is. So it's kind of like you're playing mental games at all times. And there's also a lot of politics about what happens when you graduate. So in this school, you graduate by fighting your way through like a dungeon of monsters and hoping for the best. Good luck. But then they have enclaves on the outside, which are like, for lack of a better word, are just like magic clubs. But like each main city has one. So there's like the New York enclave, there's the London enclave, there's enclaves everywhere. But it's very hard to get into these. A lot of the series kind of hinges on getting into that, but then we kind of pull back the curtain on a lot of what is actually going on in this world and how everything has come to be and what the cost is. This is another one where like the cost of magic is very real and very scary. So I love that it's not just like, yeah, I can wave a wand and save the whole world. It's gonna be great. To build up magic power to use, you have to do something you do not like. So our character doesn't like to crochet, so she crochets or she does like push-ups, and then she's able to store magic in these crystals. And then we also have like dark magic users who are just able to pull from things in nature. So I can wither a leaf and get magic. But if you go too far, you kind of go evil. Like you kind of like can't control yourself. But I can't say too much more than that. But the concept of this is really cool. It was written very like stream of consciousness, like direct. You didn't get given everything handed to you straight away. And I kind of liked that. Like, yeah, we're just kind of following it. And like, she felt like a teenager. She really did. And that she was a bit like, yes, this is what I think, but also I could be convinced otherwise. Like, I'm trying to convince myself this. And just, yeah, seeing her character development is really amazing. That we start off with this really isolated, selfish character that ends up being like the most generous, kind, amazing person. So just read it. It's good. It's the final countdown. Up number 2, we have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And it is my fancy copy. I have 2. But I was like, but look at it though. It's pretty. I sobbed my eyes out and I read this in 2 days. Taylor Jenkins Reid has done it again. I'm making my way through her kind of contemporary romance, but all of these kind of historical retellings have just been my favorite books. So I absolutely love this. This is in the 80s. We're following a character who is working for NASA as like an engineer, but then also learns a bit about like being an astronaut. And we also follow like a lesbian love story and a lot of like family and society politics and just friendship and tragedy. And it's just, yeah. But I think particularly for me, this hit harder because I'm an auntie now and there's like a really strong relationship with like the auntie and her niece. And I was like, oh my God, I would do that. I can't even. Just, it's fantastic. It's a standalone. It's super fast paced. It is emotional, but it is worth it. And you should read this. You should read it right now. Okay, there's one book left. There's also a new release for 2025. It is, of course, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne motherfucking Collins. Dude. I was reading this on a work trip and I ended up lending it to two of my friends at work and we all read it on the trip. And, like, you know, if you're like me, you've read and watched those movies. You know what it's all about. But did Suzanne take it to the next level? Yeah, she did. And she destroyed me and put me back together and then destroyed me again and gave me a cookie. There's no way this book couldn't be number one. Please read this. If you didn't read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, please read it and then this, because you're going to get so much more out of this, because there's just clues and connective tissue just through all of it. That epilogue was mean. Like, it was amazing, but it was mean how hard I cried at that. Yeah, I'm not even going to say what this is about because, you know, it's we get Haymitch's trauma origin story. And I think that's the hardest part because, like, we already know him and, like, you know, shit had to happen to him for him to get where he was. But just the level of shit. And then just, like, the broader world level of shit. And there we have my top 10 books of 2025. I read some absolute bangers this year. There's a lot of mediocre and crap books as well, but these are the ones I'm the most happy to have read. I implore you to read all of them because they are worth your time. But please let me know if any of my favourites made it onto your favourite list and what some of your favourite reads of the year were. Alright, thanks.